a hair-raising incident during ranger training. Let me tell you about something that happened during my time in the Self-Defense Forces ranger training. It's an experience I'll never forget. The exercise involved working in pairs, using a compass and a simple map to navigate between various checkpoints, all on foot. At each location, we were supposed to find a hidden note with the next direction and distance to the following checkpoint. We started in the late morning, but by the time we reached the final point, it was well after midnight, about 1 a.m. We'd gotten lost along the way, even having to stop and ask for directions from a nearby house. I still feel bad about disturbing them. Finally, we arrived at a small shrine. There was a large pond at the entrance, and we walked along a path that looped around to the front gate. As I passed, I noticed a dead end to my left, about 10 meters deep, probably a space for cars to turn around. For some reason, I felt like there was something hidden down that dark path, maybe the next note. I stopped and stared into the gloom, squinting to see if I could make anything out. That's when it happened. Out of nowhere, from an empty space about 5 meters ahead, I heard the voice of a small child. No, no. It was a soft, eerie whisper. There was no one else around, just me and my buddy. I barely had time to register what was happening when the voice suddenly escalated. Scary, scary, help me. The unseen presence, a powerful force, rushed towards us, invisible but unmistakably real. This was the definition of terror. Every hair on my body stood on end. I grabbed my buddy's arm and bolted towards the shrine's torii gate, confused and exhausted. He asked, "What's wrong?" But I didn't stop. I just ran. As we passed through the gate, I heard it. A deep, mournful wail from behind us. A voice filled with sorrow and resentment. But whatever it was, it couldn't follow us past the torii. Even though we were supposed to leave the same way, we decided to find another path out, skirting the area as best we could. To this day, the memory of that sad, lonely voice still haunts me. Later that night, after the exercise finally ended around 9 a.m., we took a short nap in the car before heading back to the base. Exhausted. My buddy's feet were in terrible shape. His blisters had burst, so we stopped by the infirmary on the way to the mess hall. As we crossed the large training ground, something strange caught my eye. There was a stop sign at the intersection ahead, and even though there was no wind, it was swaying violently, moving back and forth about 30 centimeters, as if someone was shaking it from the base. I stopped in my tracks. "Hey, the sign's going crazy. What's going on?" I called out to my buddy, but he was in too much pain to care and kept walking. Still, I couldn't take my eyes off it. Then suddenly the sign changed. What had been a metal stop sign just moments earlier was now a figure. A person in a light blue tracksuit, likely a fellow soldier. But what stopped me cold was the blood. Blood was pouring from his head, soaking his face, dripping onto the ground. Yet he just stood there, staring at me. No, glaring at me. I froze. The terror was paralyzing. Time stretched into an eternity. Then, just as suddenly, the figure began to fade. One moment he was there, and the next it was like someone flipped a switch. The bright midday sun flooded back, and the scene returned to normal, calm, peaceful, as if nothing had ever happened. Couldn't shake it. Later, I looked into the history of the area. About 15 years earlier, I learned a soldier had fallen from the 3rd floor of the nearby building while drunk. Tragically, he landed on a stone monument, splitting his head open. He died on the spot. When I described the ghost I had seen, one of the senior soldiers muttered, "Yeah, that sounds like him. Maybe he had something he still wanted to say." That quiet remark chilled me more than anything else.